All right. Well, Will's still in Ireland. Just the four of us. We've got the Broncos season starting Sunday. Raiders look like they're a mess. Payton's talking about babies. We're going to predict the season. So probably our best episode yet. Would you guys agree?
I'd say
Agreed.
so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you watched any of the previous ones, boy, that was a mistake. Oh, still haven't fixed the graphic to include Let's Talk Broncos, but that's who is here. The Let's Talk Broncos crew. Make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel. We got Bree, we got Zach, we got Joey. All of us played football together this weekend, so that was fun. Yeah. Except Joey left early like a coward.
I have one like Des Bryant-esque catch. I have one little maybe drop, maybe catch for a first down. Cody Latimer was throwing me the ball, so I decided that it was definitely a catch. We got the first, but other than that, yeah, it was a good one.
Good,
Brandon.
It's kind of a star-studded event. Cody Latimer was there playing with us. He was all-time QB.
Multiple pick sixes
for our team. Yeah, he had multiple pick sixes. Bree was just chatting it up with Nick Ferguson up in.
I'm on the PUP. I'm pup. I blew out my ankle, so I got an excuse.
Fair enough.
I
blew out my ankle during the game, so I feel you.
I don't see Brandon on the PUP. What's up, Bree?
I played.
Yeah, he was catching deep balls. He was still running a 4.5 with only one ankle.
Yeah,
that's right. No,
We're is built different.
5'4". Sorry, 5'4".
I feel good for about the first 10 minutes, and then my body starts to feel old. And seeing Cody there, like I didn't know he was coming to the game to play against us, and so the field's kind of down low, and you walk in from up high, and I just saw like a giant man amongst normal sized boys out there. I was like, who's the ringer that's in here today? And then I got closer. I was like, oh shit, that's Cody. And I was hoping I could throw him some passes, but he was just quarterback. Yeah. But anyway, like that's how I met everybody here, is playing football. We did it this weekend for Mario's tournament, or whatever it is. And Mario and Zach, you guys are gonna be doing some buffs stuff soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Launching that. I think that'll launch Friday morning, and then we'll be doing it weekly on Tuesdays. So everyone get ready for that. Mario Vitanzi, one of the biggest Buff fans I know. Of course, I was on the beat this year, so I know some of the players, know some of the inner workings of that program, and we'll be breaking it down for That's Good Sports and Let's Talk Broncos every week.
Hell yeah. Okay, first thing I want to talk about before we do our predictions for all the Broncos stuff. ESPN soundbite nugget came out from Seth Wickersham. He did an interview with Sean Payton. I don't know when he did this interview, but he put together an article. It was on ESPN Plus. I am subscribed to ESPN Plus, but I could not log in. I emailed fucking Disney and tried to reset the password, and they won't send me the reset link. So I couldn't read it all. But within the article, Sean Payton told Russell Wilson at some point this offseason, will you fucking stop kissing all the babies? You're not running for public office. It's just a hilarious quote.
Is hilarious. That quote is insane. When I saw that first, I mean, I think there's a little truth to it, though, guys. I really do think there's a little truth to it. I don't think Russ needs to be a super nice guy all the time, or put on the public persona of just always being the nice guy. Like, I think some change is appropriate. I really do think that. I don't think he has to be the perfect human being to public's eye all the time. And maybe even after getting traded, there's a little more pressure there. That there's a little issue with that. I honestly think with his quarterbacking last year, and exactly what Sean Payton is talking about. I'm just happy that the Broncos have a coach in there I don't think Hackett was ever going to be that guy that said that.
No.
Hackett was the same guy that benched Melvin Gordon, and then it came out Melvin Gordon had a conversation with him, and then he started the next week. He's that same guy. So I'm just happy the Broncos have somebody in there that's actually willing to say this stuff, is willing to lead the team in a direction, because he's a leader, and I think that quote kind of shows that. So I think it's appropriate. I like it. I don't know how this quote came out or why it came out. I guess that would be
Ricochet's got good sources.
Yeah.
This is the same guy who was on the Jimmy G Patriot story, the old Russell Wilson story with the Seahawks and maybe those teammates not liking him. So I definitely trust where it's coming from. And I think it's right. Like Russell Wilson, I think he kind of had what Aaron Rodgers has had this offseason, last offseason. We got kind of this, I don't want to say image rehabilitation because his image was already pretty positive, but just like, hey, it's Russell Wilson. And you have all the fanfare and all the media stuff. You had those cringy Subway Danger Witch ads, if you remember. I think it's just like Sean Payton telling him to pack it in. And to Joey's point about Nathaniel Hackett not being that guy, we see he's not that guy. It just horribly blew up in his face, and he's doing it all over again. Nothing's changed. He did not learn his lessons from last season. I think that's a necessary change. And if you're going to get Russ on the right path, he's got to break some old habits.
I want to question Joey's question of what's the necessity of the timing of this release for this quote coming out. If it was told to Russell Wilson early on in the offseason when Davis Webb was coming in, when there was a lot of turnover, there was a lot of hesitation with Russell Wilson and what the next step was for him. I think the idea here is a little refresh, a little recourse for week one. It's the start of the NFL season. It's a really important rivalry game there for the Denver Broncos against the Raiders. But also, I don't understand why there's a public freak out in Broncos country about the reactiveness to this quote. This quote is important because we wanted to know what exactly was said to Russell Wilson to change the course of the 2023 season. So I think it's important to note, it's important to talk about. I don't understand, and I will not agree with the like, oh, that's the past. Why are we talking about it now? We should be talking about it until proven otherwise. So hopefully Russell Wilson plays well for the first half of the year and we never have to mention it again. But I do agree with Sean Payton. You don't have to be kissing the babies to make everybody like you here in Broncos country. A couple wins are going to take care of that real easy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like something I think everybody's talked about for a while with Russ, and it's the part of Russ that seems like mechanic and robotic. And I think it's just more about empowering Russ to be more human and embrace like either the flaws or when shit's not going well, just be like, this sucks. Like, I hate it. I hate like the way we're playing. Like when we see people who only have one mode and that is always like perfect PR, it rubs people the wrong ways. It's like why Kyle Brandt was empowered to start shitting on Russ on Good Morning Football. Like that's when you knew like the Russ memeing was really getting out of control, is when like the NFL show is going in dunking on it. So I think like that's what Sean brings, and that's exactly what Russ didn't realize what he needed. It's just that coach to like be the kind of the ass, the guy like the guy you fear a little bit, right? And I think like Sean Payton in the article, I feel like Sean likes to talk. And so I think he's talking to Seth, right, for the interview. And Sean's just like, this is what I told Russ. And then maybe that's not even the exact quote he told him, but Sean likes having these like sound bites. And we saw it with the Hackett stuff and now this one. And I'm just hoping we get a new one like every other week because it's great fodder. And if the Broncos are winning, then all this stuff is gravy. If they're losing, then just prepare for more of a mess. Yeah. Luckily, we got the Raiders coming up this week. They got Jimmy G, who gifted the Broncos a win last year by stepping out of the back of the end zone. I hope he does it again. And I think like with the Raiders, things were starting to be a little bit positive. Like, I don't think everybody thinks they're going to be good, but it was quiet over there. Josh Jacobs returns. Devontae Adams does not want to be traded. Max Crosby's really good. I thought they had a good draft. And then out of nowhere, thank you, Chandler Jones, for just going on Instagram saying doesn't want to play for Josh McDaniels, doesn't want to play for that GM, asking why they're contacting his ex-girlfriend to how come he can't get into the facility to train, and now it's this big story, and it's way bigger, in my opinion, than the Sean Payton quote, which is good as we head into play the Raiders. Do you think the Raiders are as big of a mess as they appear to be? Or is this just one of those things kind of getting blown out of proportion, in your guys' opinion?
It's the exponential snowball down the hill, because it's one thing after another. Just because they're good at one point, they've made a couple of good moves. Talk about blown drafts, mismanagement of rosters, leaking stadiums that are $2+ or the billions of dollars that they're worth. Now they're leaking in Vegas and they're not even 2 years old. We'll talk about like the shift in the Raiders organization never really gets any better. And the number one thing Raiders fans like to throw back in Broncos fans' face is that they haven't beaten them since December of 2019. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit more proud of Broncos country and the Broncos organization than I am of the Raiders, because they always find a way to just let us know that they're kind of disintegrating. And leadership, the organization, the owners aren't willing to step in and undo what Josh McDaniels is doing to the organization. So they're kind of messy, and it's a fun reality show to watch happen.
Yeah, I think they're every bit the mess they look to be, if not more so of one, because I don't think we see, I guess to Bree's point, there's kind of a lot of stuff there. So maybe it is just what we see, but this is what happens when you have bad ownership. I don't think it's, to the level of like the Bidwells in Arizona, but Mark Davis is not a good NFL owner. I think Al Davis towards the end of his life was not a good NFL owner. And it's the biggest driving factor behind the Raiders being a pretty bad franchise since about 2005. That said, that bad franchise has a 6-game winning streak, right, over the Broncos. So that's downright embarrassing. That has to be rectified. The Broncos can only thumb their nose at the Raiders so much, and the Raiders dysfunction so much while they're down in a 0-6 hole to that franchise. Yeah, I think they're a total mess. It was well reported last winter, December, maybe even November, that the only reason Josh McDaniels was getting brought back for another run at this thing was because ownership couldn't afford to fire him. It's not what you want to hear about your football personnel decisions. It's like, we would love to do this, but we can't because we can't afford it. And not even like coaching obviously isn't a salary cap thing. So they just straight up don't have the capital. It's one of the proud NFL franchises no longer proud.
Yeah, I personally, listen, the Raiders are a mess until proven otherwise every single year for me. So even before this thing, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, all right, Josh McDaniels, the head coach. Something's about to happen. I don't know what it is, but something is going to happen this year. We all know in Broncos country, Josh McDaniels. And then Chandler Jones gets on Instagram pretty much looking for his coach's contact info and a key to get in. It was ridiculous. That whole thing is a disaster. I think it's just more to come. And then you see him in press conferences be like, yeah, it's an internal issue. Like, we don't want to talk about it right now. Dude, this has already been public. It's no take backs now. We're all just going to be speculating it now. This looks crazier now that you're not just addressing it, to me at least.
Not only that, but the social media flubs that they've had over the years, it just keeps adding up. And to me, I think it's fun to pick on them, but that's because I was born and bred a Raider hater. I can remember exactly when my parents told me no black and silver jerseys were allowed anywhere near the house. I don't know when that would come up, but it was very much so a staunch rule in our household. You guys remember when you started knowing that the Raiders were the rivalry for the Broncos when you were little?
Yeah, totally. I totally remember.
Tell me, Joey.
Yeah, well, all the weird kids that wanted to stand out in school wore Raiders jerseys. They weren't even from anywhere near where the Raiders are from. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that's bad. And then I remember Champ Bailey shutting down Jacoby Ford. That was a big moment for me as a Broncos fan versus the Raiders. I remember a lot of Raiders moments. I remember Darren McFadden running for like 250 yards against the Broncos one year.
That was rough.
Yeah, that was really rough. There's been
I was in attendance.
You were in attendance for that game?
Yeah, it was the worst game of my life. I was there for the 59-14 loss at home.
Yeah, I don't remember when I knew the Raiders were like the big rival. I think I just hated them the most because I think that's what you thought you were supposed to do, like as a Broncos fan. And then I moved to Wichita, Kansas, and I hated the Chiefs the most because I was around the most Chiefs fans. And then I moved to San Diego when the Chargers were good and they kept winning the division. So then I hated the Chargers the most. So it's just coincided with whoever's the most competitive. Now it's the Chiefs again. The Raiders holding the 6-game win streak over us. Yeah, that's a nice way to dunk on us. And our only comeback is the Chiefs have double of that. We don't care.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, like, that's our best comeback right now. So they have to win. The Broncos have to beat the Raiders this weekend. Because if they lose this game, I don't even think it's going to be a bad sign if the Broncos lose the week 1 game. Week 1 to me is just like it's like a toss-up for every team. It's just weird. It's always weird. But the reaction to it will be Sean Payton hasn't fixed anything if we lose, especially after all of this. So it'll be interesting.
You're totally right. All the rookies will be busts. Everything will be bad if we lose week 1. Everything will be bad.
I know how I'm not losing.
How is that, Brandon?
With Underdog Fantasy, guys. Oh, my Lanta. Look, the pick'ems for the Broncos here in Colorado. There's only one from the Broncos game so far, but they just started populating. Jimmy G, higher or lower, 14.65 fantasy points. So to me, that means Underdog is believing Jimmy G is not going to have a stellar fantasy performance against the Broncos defense. I'm going to take, if I'm a homer, I'm going to take lower than that. I'm going to say we're going to shut Jimmy G like to 12.
I love
but
that.
The pick'ems, they're just now available. You could only do the Lions and Chiefs game here on the app until this morning in Colorado because it's a little bit different here. But anyway, if you're going to play, do it with Underdog, do it with our code Let's Ride. Sign up there. You got to use our code, and the Pick'em special, you get a mystery player. Okay, so it's like a gimme. It's a freebie. It'll be like, I don't know, Russell Wilson for a half a Let's Ride. And you just take it, you stack a couple more Pick'ems, and that's how you can 20x whatever your deposit is. Link in the description. There's like 24 hours left to enter the Best Ball Mania 4 tournament. That's the biggest fantasy tournament on earth. You can win $3 million if you get in first place. Or the weekly winners, you can win up to $20,000 with their Best Ball Fantasy tournament this season. So that's it. That's the ad. Oh, shit. No, it's not.
Does that mean that Underdog is also a Vance Joseph believer? Ooh.
Honestly, that's a great question. Because if the Broncos don't pull this off in a convincing fashion, the Broncos defense is going to get railed for it. Vance Joseph is going to have all the darts thrown in his direction. We've talked about it previously, Joey. Zach, you've said it before. If he's being used as the scapegoat, if the Broncos don't keep the opposing teams to under a certain amount of points, do you think it's a reflection of Vance Joseph's new defense installation?
Yes, I think he's the scapegoat. If he's, I think Vance Joseph might be the scapegoat. If the Broncos defense isn't good, he might be the scapegoat. That's quick. Anyways,
you just got disclaimered. All right, what are these awards? Bree, take it away.
All right, let's hop right into it. We're going to predict Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, MVP, and how the Broncos finish this season and if they make the playoffs or not. Perna, I'm going to throw it over to you. Give me an idea of who you think the Offensive Player of the Year is going to be for the Broncos in 2023. Who blows the socks off of everybody?
Ooh. I mean, there's so many guys I want it to be.
And none of
I
them
really want it to be Javonte Williams because when things were bleak and dark, I just enjoyed watching him play. I like the style of play. I like the way he runs. And I think it was last week I was watching some of his highlights, and he's faster than I remembered. And I don't know if he's going to get that speed back right away with the knee injury, but some of the highlights, I was like, oh shit, I just think of Javonte as this bruiser. But when he gets just a little bit of room, he's quick. I want it to be him, but I think as optimistic as we are about the knee injury, I think that just takes a little bit of time before it's right and it's ready to go. Then I would have said Jerry Jeudy. Hamstring, is he even going to play this week? So I'm going to go for the sex pick, the straight up sex pick. And that was Greg Dulcich. Mr. Whip that wet hair back so Ryan Green can get slow-mo shots of it at DNVR all day. Been quiet. Nobody really talking about Greg Dulcich. We know they're going to do a lot of blocking, but he's going to be the X factor. He's going to be the guy that's like, oh, he just had 1,200 yards because Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and all of our receivers are taking turns, missing weeks here and there with random injuries. I don't think that's changing. Greg Dulcich, steady, healthy. He's the man.
I love the pick. I think Greg Dulcich is an amazing player, and I agree with what you said about wide receivers. We don't have a clear answer there. I worry about how big Greg Dulcich's role will be in this offense. You know, we had the unofficial depth chart come out today, and he's still the number 2 guy. I think he'll see plenty of work, but I wonder if it'll be enough to be Offensive Player of the Year. That's why I'm rolling with Javonte Williams. I am feeling that optimistic about the knee. I've been pumping the brakes all offseason, really ever since it happened. I was like, guys, let's not just assume Javonte's coming back. But everything we've seen is so positive. All the reporting, it really seems like he had an unprecedented recovery from a multi-ligament knee injury. All signs are pointing to that. And frankly, all the other people I'd want to pick are injured. I think maybe Cortland Sutton makes a push for it, but if the Broncos are good this year, like truly a good football team, it's going to be because the run game is good. I have faith in the defense. I have faith in the coaching. I just think to maximize Russell Wilson at this point in his career, you need a legit running game. Javonte Williams is the one to provide that. He's the Offensive Player of the Year in my book.
I like both your guys' picks. I think between you guys, I would more enjoy it to be Greg Dulcich just because that means that we have a second-year player blowing up this next season. Hopefully, if he doesn't blow up, he's still Offensive Player of the Year. We had a year like last year. It wouldn't be good. But I think Javonte, to me, it might be a little unrealistic. The only reason why, Zach, and here's the only pushback I'll give you. Broncos have 2 other running backs in that room, and I think they're both going to get carries. I don't think that it's just going to be the Javonte show out there. I think P. Ryan is going to get his fair share. I think even McLaughlin, he is going to get his fair share. I really do. He brings a completely different factor to this offense. So that's my only pushback on your Javonte Williams one. Greg Dulcich, I like. I hope it's Greg Dulcich. That's the one that would make me the happiest. But I'm going to go off of Zach's, hey, if the Broncos are good, you need a running game. And that's why if this player was ever voted, he would never win because offensive linemen never win anything. But I'm going to go Quinn Miners. I think at the end of the year, Quinn Miners might be pound for pound the best offensive player on this football team. I really do. In both facets, pass protection and run blocking. But specifically, if the Broncos are going to be good this year, they're going to need dominant run blocking. I think the offensive line is set up well for that. And I think Quinn Miners might end up this next year, hot take, as one of the best guards in football. I really do think that. I watched him in training camp when I was there a little bit, and he was stonewalling people the entire time during one-on-ones. And this is the type of offense he thrives in. He's a physical guy. He wants to drive you through, all the way through the stands. That's what he wants to do, and that's what he's good at. So I'm going to go Quinn Miners.
I like that.
Oh, I'm a hipster. Look at me picking an offensive lineman.
I think you could have just stopped talking after you said Greg Dulcich. I think the answer is right there. Sean Payton seems to favor him quite a bit, and that doesn't mean that it has to be production-based. I think if the coach is relying on you specifically to have such a cornerstone roster position, if you're going to be the tight end, the jack of all trades, the joker, then you're going to be eyed for a lot of the success for the offense, and I think a lot of that has to do coincide with the run game because I think he's going to have to be a large part of making sure those gaps spots are open for whoever the running back may be. And I don't think it's going to be a tandem back situation, or I don't think it's going to be a duo tandem back situation where it's P. Ryan and Javonte Williams. It's not going to be Javonte Williams getting the primary most of the snaps. You're going to see a lot of P. Ryan and McLaughlin, like Joey pointed out there. So I don't think one running back, I think the entire running back group, if you could give them all the award, I would take that in the heartbeat. But I think it's going to be Greg Dulcich with the highest impact on the roster for the offense for the Denver Broncos in 2023. That's the final say because I said so. Let's move over to the other side of the ball. Who's the defensive player of the year? Zach, I'm going to throw it over to you.
All right. Well, oftentimes, the MVP award and the Offensive Player of the Year award, they both go to offensive players, but it rarely goes to the same person. So let's keep that in mind. As I go with my Defensive Player of the Year award, I'm going to go DJ Jones. This is a bit of a sleeper pick, but if you look at what he did last year, and I think what he's been doing in camp so far and the preseason, like that 49ers game, he's playing like a man possessed. And they're going to need him to play like one with how shallow that defensive line is without him. Frankly, how shallow the defensive front is. I like the depth at edge, but you don't have any top end proven answers there outside of Randy Gregory, who can't stay on the field. You're going to need DJ Jones, I think, to carry the defensive front of this team. I think he's totally up to the job. And every year of his NFL career, I think he's steadily improved bit over bit. I talked about it on our last show when we were projecting NFL MVP, and I picked Jalen Hurts. I think some guys have a really promising developmental trajectory. DJ Jones is one of those guys. He's got just about all the physical talent in the world. I think he takes another step this year and is an absolute monster in the middle of the Broncos defense. What say y'all?
Other than you making fun of me for picking an offensive lineman, then flipping and immediately taking a nose tackle, I like your pick. I think that's good. I just think that was
fair. That's fair.
No, DJ Jones is a workhorse. I have nothing else to add there. I would be happy if he won that award. If he was the best and most dominant player on the Broncos defense this year, other than maybe who wins MVP, I think that the Broncos are set up pretty well. DJ Jones might as well be. I think he's maybe like the third most talented player on the defense, fourth maybe.
Who are you taking then, Joey?
I'm going to go with I don't know. I'm kind of split between two guys, but I'm going to go with Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons is all reliable there at safety for us, and not just reliable, but elite. I think he's one of the most, if not the best safety in the league. He's top 3. How do I not pick him? It's just that simple. I don't know what else to say. He's been the guy out there every single year. We just happen to have one more dominant player on that team, hinting at my MVP pick. But Justin Simmons all day long.
Sorry, I just got lost looking at this Nick Bosa contract.
Could you imagine that type of generational wealth?
Just $122 million guaranteed. Wow, $170 million extension. That happened 2 hours ago. I just saw it. My answer then, Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory. He's gonna see this Nick Bosa money, and he's gonna be like, I don't care if my entire body is detached from the other parts of my body. I am playing through all the injuries. I am going to lead the team in sacks. This is Randy Gregory's year, motivated solely by that insane Nick Bosa contract.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Randy Gregory also winning Defensive Player of the Year and playing throughout the entire season would also be incredible. I'd love it. I'd love to see it. Gotta stay healthy. I'd absolutely love to see it. Joey, I absolutely love that you went with Justin Simmons. The old reliable comment, little off base, but that's okay. I'm gonna let it go because the idea there is that he could have another stellar year, and it doesn't matter how many games Justin Simmons plays, he gets it done. But let's talk about the other noteworthy. If we're going off just the idea that we're giving these awards for the most impact on the Denver Broncos defense, then I'm gonna have to go with Patrick Surtain. He may not have the most interceptions, he may not have the most loud plays on a single Sunday, but what's going to happen is he's going to be the most impactful player for a second year in the row for this Denver Broncos defense. And when you mention Justin Simmons and Patrick Surtain for different reasons, they're always rotating as the two best defensive players on the Denver Broncos. And that's for a reason. I'd love for the nod to go to Patrick Surtain. He's one of my favorite players to ever play, and he's only been doing this for a short while. So I'd really like to see that happen. I don't think there's a wrong answer here, though, because the Denver Broncos Broncos defense continues to really impress me. And I hope that continues. You've seen a lot of good stuff out of preseason, training camp, as Joey mentioned previously. I'm looking forward to the season for the defense specifically, but that means we have to jump into the Rookie of the Year award. Joey, I want you to grab this one first. Tell me who you think the Rookie of the Year is going to be for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, it's Drew Sanders, guys. That's mine. I think it's obvious.
Wow,
I think Drew Sanders is the best rookie on this team. Just pound for pound, I really do think that. I think that what he's going to do year one is clear. He's going to be a guy that goes in there, rushes the passer, blitzing from that inside linebacker position. If you go and look at former Vance Joseph inside linebackers, he fits that prototype exactly. He does as an edge inside linebacker, kind of a hybrid player. And we saw some of the freaky athletic stuff he can do in the preseason. I love Marvin Mims a lot. I just think the path for Drew Sanders is clear year one immediately. He's going to have a package in there. We've seen it. I just feel the most comfortable with him.
Yeah, I don't blame you for taking Drew Sanders. I think if you were to ask me a month ago before the Broncos suffered all their wide receiver injuries, I would have taken Drew Sanders. He was getting reps with the first team. I think he's looked amazing so far from everything we've seen. I think he is going to have a really good rookie season. But Marvin Mims will be my pick because the opportunity is going to be there. And he's also looked awesome, I think, so far from everything we've seen from him. He just got a little bit of a later start because of that hamstring nagging him. But the moment he got on the field for the Broncos through camp, through the games, he's looked absolutely awesome. Now he's got a sleeker, faster number on him, wearing 19. That can't hurt. I don't know. I think this offense, I think, is built to punch you in the teeth and then throw it over the top. Marvin Mims is going to provide this offense with that vertical element. And so I think he's going to have not only like a lot of production, but a lot of highlight worthy, 60-yard touchdowns that help him shine as the Rookie of the Year.
Well, I'll just take Riley Moss then.
Damn it.
You can double up with us. You don't have to.
Nope, I got to double. I got to zag. Go, Bree.
Oh, I was going to take Riley Moss because the idea here is that he's already been named a team captain. He's already blown the expectation away for the rookies here. You're going to see Marvin Mims have an impact in some of the return and some of the wide receiver responsibilities, but you're going to see that get spread around with the tight ends and the running backs. Also, I don't see that happening with Drew Sanders either. He is also in a little bit of a competition with Julian Singleton. So if Riley Moss is already being designated as a team captain, to me, that already puts him up a snuff a little bit. But let's talk about the integration into the defense there. If the team is already backing him for a team captain, I think that you have to kind of look to where his impact will be once that core muscle injury has been rehabilitated and he's able to be a full participant. It's going to take him a little bit longer to get in on the NFL speed of the game, but this kid has done kind of the unbelievable as he's entered into not only college playing football, getting into the NFL. Nothing stops him, and I don't think the NFL speed of the game when he returns to form probably in the first quarter of the season is going to slow him down any. Perna, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I think I didn't know he was named captain. Like, that's real?
Yeah, no, I'm just not just making it up.
Well,
I'm just kidding. It was Riley Dixon. I was trying to sneak it past everybody.
Riley Moss. We've got the Broncos there's like 3 picks we can really think about, right? From the draft. Their second and their 2 third rounders. Riley Moss, the other third rounder. But if Patrick Surtain is as good as we all know he will be, the opportunity for those flashy plays will be going to other corners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like more balls, more opportunities. I think that's how a guy like Moss can make an impact, is simply kind of just being in the right place at the right time. Once he's healthy, that's a good point, because this preseason, it was Isang Slapa the base man who was in the right place, the right time for a handful of those picks, had one like every week. So give me Riley Moss.
I like it.
What's the record for most picks in a season? 11, 12, 13?
No,
he'll break it.
A little more.
That's
than
my
that.
prediction. He just fucking broke the pick record.
Now we are just actually making stuff up at this point. It's first me, then it's Perna. It's got to be more. It's got to be like 12 or 13 or 14. Nobody's on the stat machine today. I'll do it. I have to do everything. Let's talk about the MVP for the Denver Broncos this season. Perna, it's coming straight back to you. Who's your MVP, and is it the same as the Offensive Player of the Year for you?
No, it's Russell Wilson. It's his comeback year. He will not kiss a single GD baby all year long, including his child when it's born. You say, Sean, this is my baby. I ain't kissing it. I ain't kissing it, you old son of a bitch. And he's going to go out. He's going to throw for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. That will be in the playoffs against Kansas City Chiefs. So, yeah, it's going to get wild. I think Russ was so bad last year in terms of the statistical performance. Broncos fans who watched, right, know that there were some plays there. You're like, okay, there's something. We saw a lot of bad. But I think like if he's their offensive MVP, and he just has to be like the 13th best quarterback in the league, right? Turnovers, picks go back down to where we've grown accustomed to watching Russ. I don't think he'll be doing the snaking his way out of 1 billion sacks like he's done in his career, but I don't know. I just feel like he's going to have 3,500 passing yards. He's going to get 30 passing touchdowns, and the Broncos are going to run the ball so well that the big plays he does make they feel more impactful, and they're going to happen a lot. 14, Riley Moss, 15 picks. Thank you.
That would be so nice.
You guys.
I like the pick. I'm going with a different guy who's maybe in the running for that interception record, Patrick Surtain II, except no one will throw the ball at him. So maybe he can't get the interception record. I think he's the MVP of this team. I think he's the reason the defense will be as elite as it is this year. I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's one of the probably 10, 15 best players in the entire NFL. He should be a defensive player of the year favorite if the award wasn't stacked against defensive backs and they never really had a fair shot of winning the thing, because he is one of the defensive players of the year and should be the MVP of the Broncos. It's like when Von Miller was with this team for a decade and they didn't have quarterback sorted out yet. He was always the MVP then. PS2 is the MVP now.
I'd like to go with Sean Payton, but it's player. So I'm gonna agree with Zach. I'm going PS2 all day. I think that if you're just looking at it, he's gonna, out of every other Bronco, I think he's the only one that has a shot to be the best at his position in just the entire NFL, and that probably warrants you to be MVP, especially when you're at as valuable position like cornerback. He's a lockdown, shutdown guy. And he's just entering year 3. Let's talk about that. That guy is still maybe getting better. Could you imagine that? And so who knows? I definitely think that Patrick Surtain is the best player on this football team, and I'd honestly would be shocked to see him not win MVP.
More often than not, guys, the MVP considerations, the Hall of Fame considerations, it all comes down to the narrative based on the team. And all we can talk about here in Broncos country is whether or not Russell Wilson can return to form. And I'm going to zag as well. I'm not going to pick Russell Wilson. I'm going to pick the man who's in charge of getting him back up to speed, and that's Sean Payton. And that's going to go against a couple of the things that I normally say here. But I think if Sean Payton is able to make a winning team out of the Denver Broncos, and these awards are made up so I can pick whoever I want, Sean Payton is going to be the MVP of the Denver Broncos if he's able to win more games than last season, possibly make a run at the playoffs, and make Russell Wilson look like at least some form of his past self. I think that right there takes the cake for the Denver Broncos. And since we're talking about what the end record, whether or not they'll be competing in the playoffs, what that looks like, Zach, give me your record prediction for the Denver Broncos. Playoffs, no playoffs, how far do they go?
I think there's 12 teams in the AFC that can really, that probably right now, as their local shows are doing this preview, there's 12 fan bases that are really expecting to hear themselves in that playoff. I think everyone in the AFC East, everyone in the AFC North, 3 of the teams in the AFC West, and probably like 1 in the AFC South. 5 of those 12 teams are going to be disappointed. I think you got 13 even. I think at least, the Raiders, some Raiders fans even think they might be in the running for something, but almost half of those teams, almost half of those fan bases are going to be disappointed. I think it's I think the Broncos are going to be one of them. I think it's a big year of growth. I think they're fighting for it into the final week. I think they go 9-8 even. I don't see them making the playoffs. Their season ends in week 18.
Okay, so but if the Broncos win one more game, do you think they would make the playoffs? Because I
think 10-7 would be enough. I've got them just short.
All right, I'm going 10-7 Broncos. They're making the playoffs. Sean Payton, the excitement is crazy. The Broncos might even lose in the first round, but we're talking about, a team that looked really, really bad last year. Deion Sanders, we were all talking about if Deion wins 5 games this year, we'll be ecstatic. If Sean can win 9 or 10 games, I'm going to be ecstatic. The Broncos were a train wreck last year. So I really do think that. And I have them going to the playoffs. I do. And I have them losing in the first round with 10 wins. That's what I have. And we're all entering next offseason a little more excited, looking at, hey, what does it mean when Sean Payton actually brings his whole idea together in year 2?
Bree?
I'm a pessimist here. I said best case scenario was going to be 9-8. When you bring in Sean Payton, I think that the standard was that they would have 2 more wins than last season. That would bring them up to 7. And then I think they have to find a way to win AFC West division game. So doesn't matter which one it is. It just has to be one of them. I'm going to stick with 9-8. I'm not gonna falter from that. I'm not gonna guess one more. And I don't think they make the playoffs. I don't know if they make the wild card. There's a really, really hard path for them to do so. The AFC is stacked. If only the Denver Broncos played for the NFC, it would be a different story here. I think you're just hoping that a lot of teams falter more than they have done. And I hope I'm proven wrong. Like, this isn't like I hope the Broncos fail. It's just like I don't like to get too excited about things and start claiming 17-0. Although I respect the hell out of fans who want to do that. I think 9-8 is a really great case scenario for the first year with Sean Payton, second year with a Russell Wilson, and a completely different Russell Wilson at that. So let's just take it by day, and let's let our expectations simmer a little bit, because last year, whatever you did last year, let's avoid that entirely. 9-8.
Interesting. Okay, so the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bills, maybe the Bengals. Those teams are probably realistically saying 12 wins, 13 wins. Every other team in the NFL, I guarantee you their prediction is 10-7 right now.
Yeah.
That is the optimistic number, but not too optimistic so you don't look crazy.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the safe number. I'm just going to go say Broncos are going to be 12-5. 12-5.
Oh,
I was
I
going to say
like
11-6. I was going to say 11-6, but fuck it. I'm going 12-5. Okay? They're going to beat the Chiefs. They're going to sweep the Raiders. They're going to lose 1 to the Chargers because that's just how it goes. And there'll be 2 games in there that they lose.
Yeah.
Will and I predicted every single game for a podcast. I don't even remember what we predicted for their final record to be. I am on the 12-5 train. I told myself I would not get excited about this season. I would not go in overly optimistic because expectations should be low. And now it's a week away, and I just feel like we're good. We're good again. We're good again. I'm not going to explain it. I'm not going to be logical about it, but we're going to fucking win 12 games. Easy.
Oh, I love that energy. That's what we need. You could have I'm ready to run through a brick wall. You just give me the Deion.
You need to take that with Let's Ride.
From that Deion Sanders confidence is rubbing off on me.
Yeah, I know. I'm a fan. I like it.
I just need to find more haters to fuel me now.
Just call me a hater.
No, I mean, that's Deion's shtick, is everybody's a hater. Even if you're a moderate pick about the team, it's hating. So if you turn that into wins, that's just what I'm going to do from now on. I'm going to do whatever Deion does.
Let's go.
Perna's keeping the receipts.
Neon Perna. That's what you'll call me. One more underdog promo. All right, we good? We done? Is that it?
I think so.
Good job, everybody.
Let's go.
Well,
congrats.
We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
And don't forget to subscribe to Let's Talk Broncos.
Please.
Good night.
We're almost at 600.
You're at 600?
Almost.
6 away. 4 more?
6 away. Let's Talk Broncos to 600 subscribers right now. The link is in the description. They're doing Broncos content pretty much every day. They're going to have a Buffs podcast soon. And that's it. Good night. and good luck. And John Elway's ACL.